And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. This is the late show. I'm your host, Kerry. With me, as always, he's our field producer for the travel show, executive producer, Brad Hatcher. How you doing, man?
Doing all right. How are you, Kerry?
I'm doing great, actually. I'm here, awake, and been working all day. But it's I know I probably look really tired, but I actually feel pretty decent for the first time in a couple of days. I'm actually, compared to these two, between our guest and the co-host here, we got one fresh out of the hospital. This one, Chris
Yeah,
from Discover
that way.
Sasquatch, Chris
Yeah.
Reinhardt. Yeah, and then Brad's about 3 weeks out of surgery, but still in pain. So don't get old, kids. And we're not that old. I wouldn't say that we were necessarily old, but we're all relatively the same age. I think I'm the young in here, but Chris is in between us. Brad,
So I'm the oldest. Oh Lord.
not by much. When at this point, it's pretty much all the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
after 50,
it's a push. Well, somebody's
Yeah.
not even 50 yet.
after 50, I stopped counting, so I couldn't even tell you how old I am.
Yeah, I have to go back and add too. So I get that.
Well, this is our late show format. That's relative because it's not really late. On the West Coast, it's only 7 o'clock p.m. It's not late, but on the East Coast, it's 10. And if you're a normal person, that's kind of late. So we're in Central Time, so it's late. I know you guys have to be loving this content.
Yeah.
Talking about absolutely nothing.
Yeah, this is a signed George Costanza moment right now.
Yeah,
Nothing.
but I think we're gonna have a good interview with Chris. Before we get started, quick reminder: make sure that you guys keep it clean for us in the chat. We do appreciate that. We got just about 4 more days left for anyone that wants to put in for the needy family. It's up there. We're at like 2,300. You guys really came to, and that's not counting what we're putting in. So you guys really came together, and you should be very happy that this family's going to get some nice breathing room, and it was very much needed. Chris, you are slated to be one of the leaders for the next 168 hours trip. Now I'll go ahead and say that the first trip we were not able to do it the way that I envisioned it, the way that I wanted it to go, the way I wanted to film it, and we just didn't have enough people. So it's a good stepping stone for what we're going to be, what's coming up in March when we go back. For those that had planned on going, you guys get in touch with me, please. The ones that we already had set to go, just so we can start putting things together, because it's getting to be that time to at least get introductions made and get a base going. But I want to ask you, Chris, what are your expectations? What do you think, or do you have anything planned for your team?
Oh yeah, my team has actually met 4 or 5 times now. We have a little private group. We meet, we talk, and my team's ready. They know what they got to do. I mean, they know they listen to you, and we got a couple little things that we want to try at night, and we're going to be ready for whatever you want. That's what you get. You say the word, you say be here at 9, they're there at 9. It's going to be clockwork, and they're all really excited for it. Got a great group.
We've already started ordering equipment. Of course, Chris actually helped me pick out some equipment that we're getting, and I think altogether it's almost $18,000 worth of stuff. So, and we still got about 20 grand worth of stuff left to get, and that's not counting feeding everyone. So we're going to take a lot better equipment with us, some really big 800 millimeter lenses, better cameras, just to film evidence, 3rd generation night vision, 640 thermals. So we're going to be much better equipped, and that's not counting probably what everybody else is going to be bringing. So we're that part I'm really excited about. Not that you have to spend a ton of money to get really good stuff, but we were able to get things that were recommended by professionals, commercial stuff that you can film 4K at 160 frames per second is unheard of. And I got 2 48 gig hard drives that are with insane, or not 48 terabyte hard drives that just have insane write-rewrite speed. So I'll be able to edit all this stuff quickly, and it won't take months and months and months to put out next time, hopefully.
Knock on wood.
Right.
Just have everybody mark their SD cards and at the top, and that's the slot they go into, and boom, boom, boom. And
I call shotgun, by the way. Shotgun. Everybody
straight up. Brad's got a shotgun. No
for the
matter
whole
what.
week. Yeah.
Well, I've got
one out of the way right now.
I'm actually, one of my family members is going to come with me. My first cousin. He's been a police officer for over 30 years. He's going to go with us and kind of help with just not securing people, but kind of running through some things to look out for, what they need to do to keep themselves safe when they're out there. That Jeff Townsend will also be a part of that crew. But who's on your team, Chris?
I got BF Bud. I don't know if I'm supposed to say his Rob Honline and his wife Angie. Yep. I have Johnny Two Bears.
Johnny's going to be the cameraman. Yeah.
I have Tim T.
Tim
T. Johnny Two Bears.
That's it, isn't it?
That's it. That's our team, and me.
Cool. And so you guys have met, and there's some things. Anything you want to give away right now, or are you just kind of keeping it close to the vest?
No, I mean, we're talking how we're going to work as a unit. We're going to get our orders in the morning, and they're all military. And again, that's another reason why I chose them. These guys are all military. So we get our orders. That's what we're going to do. We got to be here at 9 o'clock. We're going to be there at 9 o'clock. We got to be at point B at midnight. That's where we're going to be. We're going to get our orders, and we're going to do what we're supposed to do, and try, maybe try something in between with different little couple of things. I really like to try those Sasquatch pheromone chips. They've worked here and they've worked in Florida. So,
well, there's several other things. We're doing the radio frequency that you and Chris Connor discovered worked. Brad and I, we got our own team that we're going to be dealing with, and it's 20 people, not counting the two of us. So Brad and I are going to kind of be working off of each other, but we'll be doing everything except looking for Sasquatch. We'll be helping coordinate, and we've got the ladies that'll be helping to coordinate and direct. But everything is going to be not storyboarded, but there will be shot lists. So I've already got a lot on paper that's already been out of the head. So the next one, we're hoping, whether the evidence is any good or not, at least we're going to make it flow and have a real story to tell of what went on. There's going to be a lot more. There's a lot of footage missing from the first one, and that's been an issue with continuity and wanting to show something and then what happened after from certain angles and certain directions. So either it didn't get uploaded or it didn't take, one or the other. So we're going to have one person dedicated to tech alone. So it's going to be a big undertaking, but it's also going to be catered. So we won't have to worry about feeding ourselves.
We also have Mr. Mike Taylor on our team. This guy climbs mountains. I mean, not the mountains in our backyard, but ice-covered mountains. He's an adrenaline junkie, and I think he's going to be good for the whole vibe for the whole thing. He'll climb up them trees without a blink of an eye.
Well, you're not going to take your group all at once, right? You guys are going to kind of
we're going to go with the plan. You wanted to bring 3 guys out at a time, and then
no more than I think no more than 3. But there's going to be a lot. We're going to have plenty of bacon. We got to do that, because that was what New Build had suggested then. Just you don't even have to eat the bacon, which would be a shame.
Oh, I'll eat the bacon.
Go out, build a little fire, and throw some bacon on it. Get those aromas going. They're obviously keen on the apples. Red apples, they seem to really love. So maybe that'll be in certain places where Mark and Melanie have already taken a lot of apples. I think that'll be a good strategy to maybe for a couple of days throw some apples, and since they're already kind of used to it, maybe that second day or third day they'll kind of get what's going on and come around. The whole idea is to get something a little bit more convincing for the public, as it were. That's a huge huge task to do that. But these creatures are out there. So it isn't impossible. And we're definitely not going to get anything sitting on the couch waiting for somebody else to do it. So
I'm excited. This is, I'm excited. You bought my dream setup. I've wanted this setup for ever and ever. All you got to do is catch one of them on that FLIR and then light them up. You got that camera with that lens, and you do it right there in the daytime. With the ISO that camera that you bought has, I think it's 110,000 it can go up to before it starts being grainy.
It has it's one of the most sensitive cameras that you can buy, on the market. That's considered like a not a video camera, although it does shoot video. You can shoot 28 shots, just regular light in 1 second with this thing. It's absolutely incredible. The camera is, but did a lot of research. I know, Chris, you dug a lot. You sent me probably 40 links to things just looking for this camera. But we're fortunate enough to have good support. I got a good support system at home. Brad does too. That the ladies, and I know you do too. The ladies in our lives that just are okay with us at this point in our lives, going out and doing something that we actually believe in. So,
what other kind of gear are you looking at to get?
Just more thermal and night vision, things to light up the dark more than anything. So we're looking at a few things. I think we're going to save our money on the drone and not go that direction. Not that I don't think it'll work. It's just there's a lot of problems, especially now with laws and in this place. You got to have somebody around now that has a drone pilot license, Part 107 or whatever it's called. And that's if you're not taking it yourself, and I'm not sure if I will, but just we're gonna keep it on the ground. We're gonna have the platforms that we put in the trees for 24-hour filming, thermal night vision and 4K during the day, but they'll be static. They won't be moving, but they'll be constantly going. So we won't have to worry about anything tripping them. Don't have to worry about putting out anything infrared, except for, the night vision, I think obviously puts out infrared, but we can turn those things off and they'll still work. We're looking at methane detection and CO2 detection. So what I thought would be really cool is you take this shot, the shot I sent you, the basketball player looking guy, 180 yards out. You guys will see it in part 2, but if you really, really want to see it, just hit me on Messenger and I'll send it to you. It's rare that you get to see muscle. And this thing is part of his body is out, and you can see this shoulder muscle, this bicep is gleaming in the sun. And he's just standing there. He's standing in a bush, essentially, with his head down like this, and he's looking, waiting, behaving like a Sasquatch. But if we had that setup that I bought, it would be absolutely crystal clear. You could see the specks on his face just because he's that far out. But think about having that shot, but also having CO2 detection, where you're actually seeing breath come out of this thing in the cloud of CO2.
And that's going to be wickedly cool.
If we can get it, we're looking into that. It's not cheap stuff.
Right.
Methane detection, they've got drones that do it, but they're over $100,000, and that's just so far out of the realm of possibility for us right now. We're trying to stay, in keeping with reality right now.
It's a lot of reality.
maybe someday. I was about to say that'll keep Jeff Townsend safe. The methane.
But they've got drones that do that in the oil field because, you got to go green out here. There are people that are just driving around with things like that, trying to bust oil companies, venting, flaring. It's taking care of the planet best we can out here. So we use vapor recovery units. We don't let any gas get out into the atmosphere at all if we can help it. sometimes it's your relief and it keeps from killing somebody, then yeah, you flare for a few minutes, but you know, that's acceptable things. But there are these detectors now that you can see they can see it from satellite. They've got that. So they bust oil companies all the time, venting. But that's what we're looking into, some tech like that, and increasing our, not just our technology, but our approach and the way that we're going to go about doing this. And I've got full confidence in this team that's going. I think it's the leaders that we have chosen to lead the teams anyway. There's probably still going to be some spots. I'm not sure if everyone that was going last that was slated to go in November is going to be able to go. I still need to hear from people to make sure that everyone is still in, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Are you going to shut down the area a couple months in advance, cool it down, or are you going to just keep it open if people still want to go in there and check it out?
It's not my area to shut down. You know,
well, I'm just talking about the whole project that you got going. Shut it down for a month before, and then come in, and then the curiosity comes back.
I don't what project you're talking about. I'm just kind of confused at what you're talking about.
Well, is there anybody down in the area now that's researching?
I mean, Mark and Melanie has been, but I mean, you're talking about a place that's so massive.
Okay, all right. I was just curious
what they do. Yeah, and there's people in and out of there all the time. But where we're going to be, it's a camp, and we're going to have the entire campground. So reservations have already been made.
Nice.
So we're going to be roughing it for 8 days, essentially filming for 7 total. But I wish I had some Bigfoot stuff, the actual Bigfoot stuff to talk to you guys about. I was on Vault of Nightmares last night with Vault, and Dark Waters showed up. It's a really good show. If you guys haven't subscribed to Vault of Nightmares, you need to go check him out. He's a Mississippi guy, and he talks a lot. He does, but he actually has something to say. So it's okay. He has a lot of stories, and he tells them well. So Vault, if you're watching, I appreciate you having me on for sure.
But the one good thing about this coming spring is the lessons that we learned last spring will be, put into play, and will be, noted going forward on what we should do and what we shouldn't do, what worked, what didn't work, etc. So that's a lot of high hopes and, knock on wood expectations for, the one in 2022.
Yeah, well, work. It's going to be a lot of work, and that's all I'll expect from anyone is that they buy in and go for this and do it. Make the sacrifice. If you're going to make the trip, you might as well. But everyone understands it's not just a camping trip. There's a lot that has to be done, and that has to come together, and it's stressful. It's a really stressful week for me. It is. It's highly stressful, but we want to make something good. The same old thing. Even the documentaries we used to make, that we still do. We still will do some every now and then, but they're getting to be so common. It's just another story. You get some evidence, some footprints, some handprints, some blurry picture from a distance. Yeah. Okay. Those are okay. They're good stories. They're entertaining to some people, and to others, it's good confirmation for those that have had experiences and things that are going on around their house. But we have to step it up, as far as research goes, and actually trying to get close and actually learn something, or at least get a decent image that people are going to be able to look at and say, yeah, okay, I see what you guys are doing. Now maybe I can, when I'm in the woods, I'll consider that they could be around me when these things start happening. That's the best we can ask for. So
that thermal scope you just bought it's an incredible piece of equipment.
Right. Well, the thing about that scope, yes, Linwood, they have. You guys need to holler at me. We've chosen the dates. The thing about that scope is it Bluetooth to the iPad. We got the brand new iPad, the 1 terabyte iPad. It's their biggest upgrade yet. And the camera they have on that thing is not bad either. But this iPad Bluetooths to the scope, so you can take the scope and put it on a monopod, hold it up over those 7-foot tall palmettos, and see what on the iPad what it's looking at, and actually record twice, because it records there, and you can also hit record on the iPad itself, so you can actually review what's going on in real time without having to pull your card, put it into the computer, and go through it. You actually in the field, you can rewind or whatever while you're there. So that's going to be a big advantage. We're going to have, there's 2 of those. We've ordered one, but we're going to be ordering another one before we go, for sure.
Great tool.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of little fun little gadgets come this spring. And I mean, heck, it's that makes it even more fun.
Yeah. Well, that's part of what the teams are going to be doing, is servicing the static stuff that we have set out. The parabolic microphones to try to catch whatever audio we can of these creatures out there. And we're definitely going to put them a lot farther out in places this time. We've got some good places chosen where we think they're going to be the cooler places, because it's going to be a little warm down there in March. So you're talking about the creek beds for sure, low areas, dark canopies where you just, if they're standing right there, you're not going to see them.
And we were fortunate this past spring. I think there's only a couple of days that were hot. I mean, it's always obviously humid, but you know, that first day I remember specifically, you know, that popped a lot of people quickly.
First day was wicked. But you also, I don't think it was the heat so much as it was. I think Barry had a stomach problem. He was cramping really bad from, I don't know if it was something he ate or what. But Lynn, she was originally not even going to go into the field, and she wanted to go, and you know, she had just done her last round of chemo, so it was understandable that maybe it was the heat that got to them. But I think it turned out okay. I mean, as little as happened the first 2 days that you guys got to see in the film, I think we were fortunate to have some images of things that had gone on in there, and a little bit of some stories to go along with it. So I did the best I could with what I had to work with. But we're going to know. I'm going to leave that place when we're done knowing how the thing's going to go this time. I'm going to spend all my time is going to be at base camp reviewing things as they come in and labeling, filing, making sure everything's put away good, because I'm not spending 7 months putting the next one together.
No, yeah, it's going to be 9-day difference.
Yes.
Well, the Florida swamp is not user friendly, number one.
No.
I got a taste of it in July, and it was hot.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So
Well,
people have to be ready for that. They got to be ready for that heat. They got to get hydrated. They got to start stretching beforehand. If you want to do things the way you're doing, you're going 7 days straight now. There's no joking around. You have to be ready for the Florida Everglades swamp in March. You have to be hydrated. You have to be in shape, because it'll eat you up. It'll eat you up in an hour. So.
And naps are your friend.
That's right. When you come in, get your rest. And you know, that was another thing that I didn't consider was I've been tempered in this for 10 years. I'm used to coming out here and working 12 hours a day for 5, 6, 7 weeks straight, every single day, out working with heavy tools. So I was already used to it. And for me to expect that from people that weren't really used to it, you know, it was so much to ask to do.
It just jumped up and got you, from the sense that you think you're ready for it. You know, if you think you're ready for it, you're not ready for it. Basically.
Yeah, you better be conditioned if you're going to do it this way. But we've got enough people this time.
Right.
That all the guys that are going in the field, that's all they're going to have to do is to go in the field when they're in, getting your rest. You guys are grown. You know what to do. But not having to worry about feeding yourself or downloading your own footage or going through anything. Just coming in, doing interviews in the field, talking to the camera. It's going to be a lot of work.
It's almost like you get and forgive me for saying it this way, but it's almost like you get sober drunk, where it's just so much, and then you get used to it, and then when it's over, it all just runs together.
Yeah,
it's just so intense. 4 hours of sleep a night, maybe a couple naps or a nap in the daytime if you're lucky. It's just, it's heavy. It's heavy.
I would have never remembered a lot of what happened if I wasn't able to go through the footage and see it. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this happened. Which hopefully we'll have part 2. I'll have part 2 out for you guys somewhere around the end of January. Definitely want to try to get it out before we leave and go to the next one. So.
We're gonna have one person in our group time stamping things. So
yeah, that's another thing.
In the clip happens, they're responsible to take that timestamp, write it down, what recorder it came from, whose camera it came from, who was looking everywhere, and that's going to be logged in and handed over to you with the footage.
Well, that's another thing, is making sure that all the cameras, times, and dates are correct.
Right.
Because on the old hard drive I bought, I spent like $300 for a 12 terabyte hard drive, but it had no rewrite. It was just storage. And that was where I messed up, was there, thinking I could work through it. But you can't with that much footage. It's just impossible. So what we're going to do now, if it was a date on it, it was the date things were uploaded. So if anybody waited till the last day to upload all their stuff, like some did, there was some footage in there that was from day one that was uploaded on the last day. It's just, you don't know when things were captured. So there was just no way for me to know. You can kind of go in order, but when you're not out with these people, I didn't know what day was what. Everything looked the same. You got the same teams going out. I didn't know if it was day 1, day 2. I did a lot of calling and asking, hey, did this happen? Did this happen? Just so I would know what was what.
It's going to be a lot tighter. Because we learned a lot of,
yes,
hard lessons, just like what you're talking about from the first one. We know what we want. We know how we want it. And I just said,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly. I diverged. We just can't make the same mistakes that we made the first time. And they didn't seem like big mistakes at the time, but it all adds up.
Yeah. And we've got people that are going that don't really like each other, but I didn't care about that. People are going to set their petty differences aside for this. This is who I want to go and do this. This is who I feel like is going to be good for the film, whether they like each other or not. They don't have to get along, but they're going to have to work together. So that was kind of what I had explained to a few people, that the people I've chosen, that's who I want to go. I hope someone else does something like this, at least gives it a shot. If we can only do it once a year and we do it in different places, that's fine. But I think I messed up calling it 168 hours. Because I think when people see the thumbnail and they see the title, they're like, wow, 168 hours of Bigfoot stories. I'm like, no. It's not a whole week worth of Bigfoot stories. So I think that was part of it, but it's getting watched. So
hopefully it'll change. Hopefully that these guys are going to come out farther.
Yeah.
And it'll happen. It'll happen. But we'll just have to see how much.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you just got out of the hospital, Chris. I know you were in the hospital for 5 days, but had you been out doing anything since then?
We kind of shut down here in the month of November. It gets really quiet here, and we went out and checked a couple of the areas, but nothing new. We found some strides at the end of August, 32-inch stride with a 13.5-inch print in the mud. First time we've ever found those, and I was using those pheromone chips at one of my areas.
Well, why do you think it gets quiet during the fall, winter time?
I think these guys are gatherers. I think they gather all their supplies they need for the winter. all year long, like a squirrel would do. And then I think they have a cave, they have a home base where they all tuck in for the winter. They have their supplies, and that's what I think they do. We were trading with these guys for 6 years, and after 6 years, you know when they're coming, and you know when they're not there. And after Thanksgiving, they're gone.
Oh, that just reminds me. I had a question I've been dying to ask you. You know, with that theory, I guess, or and theory can be, you know, that's the word I'm going to call it. Have you tried to find any caves, or do you know of any? Are you always on the lookout for caves, or?
Yep,
Yeah.
we're looking. We have a lot of people out looking for maps and stuff like that, and we found a creek that I found the same prints at 2 different areas 10 miles away. So I know they're traveling that creek. In my opinion, they're traveling that creek. I don't.
What
know
about
for
old
sure.
mines? Old mines that were.
No, they're still being used. We have a limestone mine, and I've actually, since the last time I did Carrie's show, I had 3 guys get a hold of me that actually have reports from Connecticut and want to come on the show. So I'm really
Nice.
excited. And then one of them even wants to go camp out in a spot this spring. He wants to get over his fear. I said, well, I'll take you out there. We'll go camping right there and we'll get over it. So that's the first time that's ever happened. So I'm pretty excited for that.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. But in the wintertime, these guys only would come around once a month. It's like they'd send out a patrol, and they would make the loop, and then they'd be gone. You'd find his print in the snow, and then gone. Again, IMO, but that's what all the data that we received. I mean, we would see a whole field of mushrooms. Whole field of mushrooms one day. We would come back the next day, and they would be all gone. There's not a herd of deer that's going to come in there and eat that many mushrooms without throwing up. There's just no way. There's just no way. And chestnuts and acorns, and they would just gather and gather, and they would be gone. So that's what we think they do in the winter. Like squirrels, they gather all year, and then once winter comes, they tuck in and use their supplies until springtime.
Boy, I tell you, just with that, if there would be some way that you could, like if you found a field of mushrooms, and I'm thinking kind of, I don't know if it's Scooby Snacks that are sending me this way, but even if you could, the little small GPS chips, if you could get something into, just it's a shot in the dark, but every once in a while, a blind squirrel finds a nut. So,
right, yeah, we're hoping that RF meter that's the key. That RF meter was screaming in Florida and it was screaming here when we were getting rocks tossed at us, screaming for 20 minutes.
Wow.
So we actually had a guy contact somebody. He's from the big space program here in the United States. We all know what it is, but he says he has a device in his garage somewhere at one of his places, and he's going to have his stable hand dig it out, and I guess it can locate the RF where the RF signal's coming from the woods.
Well, we're going to order
we're
a couple.
waiting on that.
We're going to order a couple of good ones. I ordered the one that you sent me.
Yeah.
But we're going to.
Oh yeah, there's better ones for sure.
Yeah, we're going to
see that would be so cool.
But wherever the knob is where the antenna is, so wherever we were showing the knob, that's where we would get the signal from. We would pull that knob away, and that meter would die. I mean, there was 3 of them on us that day. One in front.
Chris, that it suggests several things. But what do you think? What's your theory on that? Why it's doing that? I
think it's the government tracking them.
Think they got trackers on them?
I think they got trackers on them. Or they use them, and with their translucent hairs, you put the RF, which can bend light, and the translucent hairs, and they're out in front of you, and they're shaking their fur or whatever they do. What does that equal? That equals predator camel.
Wouldn't you hate to be the government guy that got the short straw and having to try to chip a Bigfoot if they actually go about downing them?
Well, look, if they have these craft that have been seen, these 3-foot wide drones that are silent, and you can't see them with thermal, you can only see them with like really good night vision. They can probably do whatever they want to do. I mean, that's what you'd have to study these things in their natural state.
Right.
Because obviously when people are around, they're not in their natural state. I wouldn't think they're hiding from you and probably watching you too. I would. That's pretty safe to assume. But that's what you'd have to have is that, and all you need is one of those with a dart gun on it or something. Put one to sleep, go in there, put a radio chip on it, and we said this before. I'd want to keep my dog in my yard. So aside from wiping them out, taking them out, somebody's studying these things, and maybe one day we'll get to know what they found out. Hopefully they will. But the Bigfoot community, it's pretty much become an industry at this point. And it's getting bigger, and that's not a bad thing, I don't think. But this yawning divide, those things need to change. And that's going to take people changing. It's going to take egos being set aside, and
that's the biggest problem.
And the look at me, look how right I am, and look how wrong he is. All that stuff that does absolutely nothing to help us. My view is this. We want to get more people interested in the subject. We want to get more people paying attention to what's going on in the woods. And if they see something that might look like a Sasquatch, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't, all that matters is if they think it is. That's just the whole Chris Noel porcupine deal. If people want to think that's a Sasquatch, fine. Yeah, evidence may suggest that it's a porcupine. But if people want to believe it's a Sasquatch, what's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with it. It doesn't hurt anything for people to believe that. I mean, we know these creatures exist in my eyes, whatever it takes. Now, I understand that the truth is important, but how it becomes subjective at a certain point. That's why I say convinced instead of proven. Whatever it takes to convince this person to at least pay attention to the possibility and not write it off straight out of hand. I think that's a huge step in the beginning, because if you can do that, especially people that frequent the woods, I believe if that can happen, then people will start having their own experiences. And then you won't have to prove anything. They'll be in it. It'll be that simple. So I think we can actually accomplish this to a degree, even if it's just 40, 50 people, 100 out of, the 340 million people that are in the United States. And how many of those, at least half of those, frequent the woods quite often. We can do that.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. The only way it's going to be end game is a body.
Well, sure.
So that's the end game. And who's going to pull the trigger? Because you don't know if that thing's a man or an ape, or you know what I mean? You could be shooting a man, for all you know.
Well, the kicker too is if somebody does, let's say one gets hit by a car or gets hit by a truck in the middle of the country. How do we know? How fast will it take the black suits to come in there and?
Yeah, because that's the deal. It's more than just shooting one. It's getting it to the right medium where it's going to get out to the public and not, again, is it going to make the Inquirer or is it going to make CNN and Fox News?
Where's David Letterman when you need him?
Yeah.
Or can it make CNN?
Yeah.
Can it make the Fox News? Is there a law against it? If it comes into their station, you cannot report on it. You know what I mean? The government could have a tight wrap on them, and you know how government controls the media.
That's why we have to go live. Yeah,
YouTube Live. That's where YouTube Live is important. All these researchers that go out, they need 1,000 subscribers. If you got guys who go out in the field with a camera and show you anything, and you happen to cross them, subscribe to them. Make sure they get to that 1,000, because if that's the case, they can go live from the field with their phone. You gotta have 1,000 subscribers to do that.
That's what happened at the top of the mountain here in Connecticut. I went live to show them that abandoned fire pit, and as soon as I built over, a rock came flying in, and everybody that was on that live feed saw the rock come in and hit that fake fire pit, and then it was on for 10 minutes. It was craziness.
And that's great. That's great stuff. That's awesome. Great stuff. All that's happening. The problem is, especially for the non-believer or the person that just refuses to believe, that's never going to be enough.
Right.
No, yeah, because you had your buddy over there throwing rocks in. That's what they're going to say.
Oh no, I know that. I've heard that all before.
It suits all of us. that are already in the subjects, but getting something better than what we got, better than Patterson Gimlin. We got to do better than that.
You
And
got to get them
that's
coming to your campfire and sitting down and having a Milky Way bar.
yeah. Geez,
But-
how rare
but
is that?
I tell you though, getting rocks chunked at you live, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah,
And-
but I think the video only got like 800 views.
but still, and obviously we appreciate that. It's different. It's different.
Right.
That's the key. Is it has what we have to do is it has to be different. It can't be the
Blob Squatch.
yeah or the structures are fascinating, but we see structures all the time.
Yeah.
that pics or videos. I mean, and that's all great, but
If we knew what they meant.
yeah. Oh boy, if we had the thesaurus for that.
Yeah.
Well,
You
I
might
went out
have.
and bought a supercomputer, and we filmed the whole thing at the top of the mountain in 5.7K, 360 degrees around. And one of the team members said she saw one run between two trees.
How are
So
you
now I
editing
got
that?
the computer that can handle the 5.7K. This winter, I'm diving in. I'm diving into every angle possible to see if there's anything running around in back of us. I can look in back of her, up to the left, everywhere, 360 degrees around her. I can look and just keep the camera right there. So
Yeah, that's look, that's good, but getting something clear in motion.
right.
You know, these are the things that are going to make people's heads itch, where they've got to question your integrity. They've got no choice. It's either real or they've got somebody out there in a suit.
Right.
You know, you got to pull CGI off the table, because even the best CGI out there, you can still tell it's CGI.
Right.
Planet of the Apes, $260 million film, you can still tell that that's CGI.
Right.
The edges are just hard, and the motions are, you can just tell it's not real. So I kind of pull CGI off the table. If you get something that's actually there, and you can see the depth, the shadows are all right. It's through the bushes or whatever, and it's actually moving somewhat, and having the footage and the clips clear. That's going to be, going to have to question your integrity if they don't want to believe it. They're going to have to believe that you're just trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes.
Right.
And hopefully we've chosen the people that have good standing in the community. They're respected by
Integrity.
by consensus anyway. Like I said, some of these guys don't like each other, but I don't really care about that. We're there to do a job. You don't have to hang out. You don't have to go out and work together. There's going to be plenty to do for everybody involved. So
I'm
I
pumped.
just want, look, the truth stands the test of time no matter what. So when you look back on it and say, well, none of this stuff was ever debunked anyway, so there is something to it. When you have that many people there, and anyone that could think rationally about trying to fool a bunch of people like this, it's just not happening. There's not people out there in masks. Nobody's making masks and put them out. That was actually suggested, that we had people out there in masks, which I was kind of happy about. I was like, well, at least they don't think it's pareidolia. They can actually see what's there. But the biggest part of this last one was providing context. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a film. What is that noise? Do y'all hear that in the background? Is the dryer
Sounds like a
going?
washing machine.
Let me see if I have a ceiling fan on.
Yep.
Hold on.
It's you, Brad. It's you. I muted you. So yeah, that's okay. At least we know what it is. It sounded like the dryer though. The dryer here anyway. But I kind of went off the tracks with what I was saying there. Oh yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and make a video of the creatures of 168 hours. And I'm going to take every image that's in there and I'm going to break it down. I'm going to trace it out, show you what we're seeing, what we're looking at. And then what I'm going to do is do comparisons, because the way it seems with these creatures is their bone structure appears to be somewhat the same, but you've got their brow ridge is the same. Now their nose may be different and lips and everything else, but you've got the same brow ridge on this thing as you do on this one. Same nose on this one over here, just different. The mouth is different. It's like Mr. Potato Head. You've got different pieces and parts all mixed together, just like human beings, just like us. Same thing. You have people with similar features, and these creatures that we've captured that you can see the symmetry. You can see their body back there in the woods. You see this apex cone-shaped head. You can actually make out the leaves that are around it. You know, you've got to be really thick and really trying to blind yourself to look at that and say, that's just the bushes. Now, given some of these faces are green, but that's the idea. These creatures are trying to look like the bushes. You know, they're just not perfect at looking at the bushes. And I would challenge anybody to go out and film around your house and film your bushes and find the same thing. This particular symmetrical bone structure where it's focused on you. You can tell it's hiding from you. It's not sitting here like this, looking off up at the moon with an eye up here and an eye down here and the mouth kind of over here to the side and the, you know, oblong shaped head. I get that stuff that people put out that they just want it to be a Sasquatch so bad, but we didn't put anything like that in this film. And if that's what you're seeing, then I would check my internet connection first, because that can make your resolution really bad. And make sure you're watching in 1080p, because YouTube defaults you to 480 automatically. As soon as you come in, you're either at 480 at best 720, depends on the video and how it was filmed and what codec it was uploaded in. That matters too. Go to your settings, hit advanced, hit quality, 1080p every time. Now, every video you watch from there on will be in 1080, but when you leave YouTube and come back, they do it to you again. So there are those issues, and that matters when you're talking about this platform and putting it on this medium. When I look at it on this 30-inch computer screen, there's clear as day. But this is 8K capable, 8K capable. So it's different for me looking at it. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. You know, that picture I just sent you guys of the basketball player that we were called him. What did he call him? I showed it to somebody. Said, man, that's Dwight Howard. That's what he called him, because he's built like that. And we've heard those stories. It was built like a basketball player, tall, slim, muscular. He's got hair on him. You can see the part in his hair. He's like a dude. Very
the Sean Cassidy part,
yeah, that actual part. And you see the gray skin of this thing. You see it's the symmetry. You see it, Chris. You saw the picture. Yep. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You see what I'm seeing then, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
If it wasn't so far away.
If you shoot with this new camera that you got in JPEG and RAW, you'll be able to take those RAW files and do whatever you want to them. You could bring in brown if you want to see their brown. You'll be able to take these guys that you've got the camera. Again, you're pointing at them now. You're not filming. You're pointing in at these heat signatures, and you know they're right there. So if you shoot in the JPEG and the RAW files, you'll be able to take those RAW files and go into Lightroom and it'll be amazing. And shooting at 29 frames per second, you're going to have a small movie reel in a minute. You know what I mean? It's going to be unbelievable footage.
That's what we're hoping, and we're hoping to have another rig just like it before we go. So
I'm bringing my rig with me, and I'm getting a 2X converter for mine too. So we'll have another long range one here too.
Well, I'm not putting the converter on this one because it brings the f-stop up too high. So it's 800 millimeter lens. That's going to be plenty enough for what we're doing. We're not filming cheetahs on the Serengeti. These things are just sitting there.
Right.
And
how much does it bring the f-stop up with the converter?
Doubles it.
Oh, doubles it. Yeah, you're shooting at 3.7 now without it.
5.6. 5.6. Yeah. Nobody probably knows what we're talking about. I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me. F-stop. You have stops of light, essentially. There's a formula that you use because letting in light is the whole idea here. So having a large lens doesn't necessarily do it. It's the sensitivity obviously of your camera and your ISO, which is what illuminates internally, I guess. So if you double if your F goes to 11, then you need to bring your ISO up to compensate for that.
Right.
And then you can also compensate with shutter speed. So the longer that's open, you get an open exposure, the more light it lets in. So you compensate with this formula. I watched the Fro guy and got this information. So 'cause I didn't know any of that before, but the video cameras we use are good for telling the story. They're good for filming, but for collecting the evidence and getting this stuff clear, it's just not good enough. It just isn't. We can get them and everything looks great. It looks clear. People look at it and they're like, yeah, maybe I see what you guys are seeing, but I just don't know. And that's another thing is that I talked about in the film is people having their own idea of the way these creatures look, and that being a generic look because of what we've been seeing, the images that the computerized images, the drawings, the movies, the way these creatures have been depicted. It's not really how a lot of them look. You know, these creatures just for the most part down there, especially, they don't seem to look like that. They look different. They look strange, human to a degree, but man, there's that one. If you watch the film, when I do the middle montage, when I'm just showing clips while Zasky's talking, sorry, the very last one, I even outline his face a little bit. All he's doing is poking his face through. And somebody said, that can't be what his face is 5 foot wide. And I thought, they have no context because those 3 trees are not full grown. Those are just little 3-inch trees. And his face, his nose is 5 inches wide. And that's what you see clearly is the nose. And you can zoom a little bit and you see the whites in his eyes, and both of his eyes look in the same direction. And pareidolia just don't do that. I'm sorry. You can't show me any that does. Not when you can actually see the bush that he's poking his face out of. And you see the outline of the hole where the bush is around his face and he's just poking his face through there a little bit. Everything looks like this. And then boom, here's this face. It's the last one in there. That thing was 60 feet away, walked up behind him. She picks up the iPad and starts filming behind her and catches it. And that wasn't the only clear frame. That was just the clearest one where you could see the nose and everything. You actually see him pulled back also a little bit in a few other images I've got. If you want to see this stuff, just let me know. You can hit me on Messenger and I'll send them to you.
Let's see. This is one of the great things about film number 2 is what we learned from film number 1 on the equipment that we do need. I remember Kerry and I were talking about getting, the biggest, baddest, you could get something to shoot the cheetahs on the Serengeti, but that's not exactly what we need for down there.
Right.
We're buying for what what it's giving us. Reaching
into the dark places. That's what we want to do. Where they obviously like to get, because it's proven when we're out there, you look into those dark places, you just can't see them. They can be right there. You're not going to see them, but the camera can. And that's what's going to matter. And Mark and Melanie, they're getting good. They're getting really good at it. Especially this place he goes now, which a few of us are probably going to get to go to when we go down there. It's not exactly, it's about 20 miles from camp. So it's not going to be readily available to us, but he's going to take a few. He'll take a few of us.
And he's putting good content out right now.
Yeah.
On his Patreon, and he's putting stuff on YouTube.
Incredible stuff. Yeah. Crypto Reality's back on YouTube. So you guys go and check that out. I know people have the ways they feel about Mark and Melanie Zasky. And I can say this, I've known Mark for 5 years. We have had our differences. We actually had big differences over trivial things, just being men, I guess, in the moment, and just neither one wanting to give. But these people are not devious. They're not deceptive. Melanie Zasky is probably the sweetest person you'd ever want to meet. Mark's a little abrasive. He comes across that way, but it's just who he is. It's his character. It's the way he was brought up. The guy came up around bikers, which are not bad people, but they can be a little bit rough.
You showed that you like somebody by cussing at them. or by screwing with them.
Right.
That is how you showed affection.
Yeah.
You know,
Call
that's
somebody an idiot, and that's a term of endearment.
exactly. And
Yeah, but he's calmed that stuff down, and he's trying really hard to get clear images, and I want to help them. I really do, because they've got the best opportunity with the situation they're in, and having them close by, and feeding them these apples for the last 7 years. It's almost like they just want these apples. It's like crack or candy or whatever for them. Don't do drugs, kids. But they work. It's working. At least that part of it has worked for them to get them close, or at least standing there watching them, waiting for an apple to be thrown. I mean, my goodness, he's got one. It's you can see the face clearly in this bush, and you can see it chewing. You can see it chewing the apple, and it's so fast. He had to slow it down to where it looked like a normal person chewing, where you'd actually believe that that's what that is. And you see this symmetrical face, and these eyes, and this perfect human looking nose, and this mouth just going at it, chewing. I thought it was absolutely amazing. The problem is it's 80 yards away. So that's what we're hoping these lenses do. We're hoping these lenses get us a little bit closer where we can see these things clearly, and help those that are at least on the fence about it. I thought the blinker would convince plenty of people when you see that thing. Somebody commented that was a baby moose. Down, yeah, because the way moose run wild in Florida. Those moose all over Florida. And I had to put my hand in my face. Really, and I try really hard not to defend any of those things. There's so much that hit the cutting room floor. You guys would be amazed at some stuff that I thought was decent. And I was like, no, I'm gonna be defending this tooth and nail. And even still, the stuff that I put out there that I thought was okay, people are calling pareidolia, but you got to be pareidolia don't move, people. I'm sorry. When your camera's fixed in the same place, and look at that first one. Look at the first one in the film. I don't know where everybody's going, but I'm still talking to you guys.
Oh, I'm still here.
Look at that first one. And that's what I showed those two first. I was like, we'll set the tone with this to kind of help support everything else we're going to show. But it was only 2 clear frames of the thing. It only caught it for a few seconds. But in those few seconds, you see his hands up on the tree. He's looking dead straight at the camera. You see his apex head. You see his body behind the tree. You see the bushes and the ferns and all clearly in front of him. And then the next frame, his hands down, his head's turned more, still looks symmetrical like a Sasquatch, ugly, but something's different. I don't know if he has it in his hand, and there's something in front of him there too. I don't know if that's his arm or if that's another one. They kind of pile up together, but you can see this green, either a twig or whatever. He moved it over in front of his face, and it looks like he's got a bald spot, but that's a leaf that's on this. You can see it go right through his eye. And I mean, that's not there in the first one. So they're even manipulating the foliage so they can get behind something. You gonna bring him in?
Yeah. Well, the great thing still about our first film is what we learned doing the first film. Sure. I mean, we learned that this was something that we couldn't have gone to a class. I mean, there was just so much that was baptism by fire. And that's what's going to make the next one and the next one and the next one, everything that we're learning that, just happens to us.
Yeah.
So I know that was incredible wisdom, and
well, you're not wrong.
It's true though, I think. And
well, we've done it. We've experienced it. We've got Blues and G's music. I love that guy. We have a frame of reference now that we can look back on, like you said before, where we've made some mistakes. We'll probably make some more, but It's going to be a lot. It's going to be better.
I know I won't ride in the back of your truck ever again.
I thought it was well done myself. I watched it 3 times.
Really?
Yep.
People
I like that one-on-one with the guy, the interviews. That was the best part. You know, their experiences out there. And,
yeah.
Got to see the layout.
Well, you'll see a lot more of that in the second part.
And I tell you, Chris, what Carrie ended with, that stinking deer, I kid you not, I was ready to go home the next day. I thought I had it. I was ready to go sleep. I mean, I really, 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 really thought I had it. But it is what it is. I mean, that's. Yeah. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever been fooled by a deer. Or
that thermal was okay. You could tell it was a deer. The new thermals we got, you're going to be able to zoom in on that, and it's going to be crystal clear because they're rifle scopes.
Right.
We're not going to have it on rifles. We'll have it on monopods. But you see these new wildlife documentaries now where you see the things in the dark. They do the white hot, and you can see the tiger perfectly clear. You see all of his hair, everything. That's what we got. So we'll know if it's a stinking porcupine or if it's Sasquatch or if it's, I doubt you're going to see a porcupine down in Florida anyway.
Or if it's a deer.
Yeah, an alligator.
Bradley running down the road screaming and hollering.
Yeah, and those that said you can't catch an alligator on thermal, sorry, we did it. And he was 10 o'clock at night, brightly lit up. Yeah, he was still holding some heat. So I understand the concept that that people are going with, the premise that they're cold-blooded and you're not going to see them on thermal. Wrong. You can definitely see them on thermal. But that's I talked an awful lot in this, didn't I, Chris? So sorry.
It's all good. It's all
we
good.
just, I was like, let's have Chris on the show since we didn't have an eyewitness to talk to that we would talk about 168 hours. And
I'm excited. I'm really excited for this 168 just to be part of it. And,
I'm just glad you're feeling better.
Me too.
After when I was reading the posts, it was kind of, I had to go back and reread it to make sure I was understanding what you were actually going through. So it is good to have you up and about.
Well, thank you.
Out of the
appreciate
hospital.
It. And I've seen a lot of people on here tonight that got a hold of me while I was in the hospital, so I appreciate it and thank you very much.
Well, I didn't even know you were in the hospital, so sorry.
Oh, that's because you're out in the oil field at 12 hours a day.
Yeah, I don't.
But I wanted to make a suggestion for the monopods. They make a tripod stand for them now, and it's worth every $35 that you ever spend because you can take those 3 things. You can hold it as a monopod and take those 3 tripod legs at the bottom and open them, and you can put that on the ground anywhere you want, and it'll hold your camera.
I got one. Yeah, that's what I had. Awesome. Yeah, that's what I had for the parabolic.
Yeah, I wish I bought one 6 years earlier. They just work so well.
That's what I set the parabolic out with, was that.
Yeah.
But hey, look, I want to remind everyone, if you're watching, if you were slated to go in November, contact me if you're going to go in March, and I'll give you the dates when you contact me that we're going to be down there, and we'll talk. And once I find out exactly who's going and if there are any spots that are going to be open, then we'll be talking to people about wanting to go. Whoever wants to go down there and help us do this, there's probably not going to be anything in it for you except for the experience. Even like for us, when the film is done, we put it on YouTube. Whatever money that makes, we give it away because I don't want to make any money off of it. If it gets 10 million views, I don't want to make the money off of it because it's going to be off the work of others. So that's exactly what we've done with this film. The one we put out, we're giving it all to that family. Speaking of, that's still open, by the way, for those of you, if you want to throw $5 in to help out, the link's in the description. It just says donate. It's the Bigfoot Odyssey link, but I just take that money, send it to Linda. I sent her a lot of it today. Her and Hunter are going to go shopping tomorrow for this family, and we're cutting it off Wednesday, and then they're going to go out and give them the gifts and whatever we've collected. So far, it's like over $2,200. You guys
great cause for sure. I donated as soon as I got out of the hospital. So
Yeah, you guys are all amazing, and we appreciate you. And I know the family is just ecstatic about the whole thing. They needed something to feel good about, and you guys came through. So it's been great. But Chris, thanks for coming on with me and Brad here tonight. Hopefully, we'll have some eyewitnesses lined up for you guys. Of course, Chris, you're welcome back anytime. You're welcome to co-host me and Brad anytime you want to. But go and subscribe to Discover Sasquatch. You'll be able to find a lot of great content over there.
Good
Chris
stuff.
has.
It's good stuff.
Really good stuff. Probably one of my favorite researchers really is Chris Reinhardt, and you guys don't hear me say that very often about anybody. So that's out of my mouth. So right here, you heard
appreciated big time. Thank you.
Absolutely. So thanks everybody for joining us here tonight. Hopefully everybody will be able to join us Sunday, 5:00 p.m. Central for Sunday Encounters. I don't know who Danielle's got lined up. That's all her show. If she doesn't, then I'll be there reading some Bigfoot stories. So hopefully we'll see you guys then. Everybody be good. Have a good night and have a good weekend.
Good night.